Good evening, all, dear children and parents. A warm welcome to you all on behalf of Spring Days and Lakshmi Garden Schools. Welcome to the Career Awareness Series, Careers of the Future, Part 3. We will wait for a few more minutes for some other students also to join. We will start the program exactly after 2 minutes. Again, a very warm welcome to all our participants on behalf of Spring Days and Lakshmi Garden Schools. Welcome to the Career Awareness Series, Careers of the Future. I am Mrs. Suparna Bhattacharya. I am the political science as well as the sociology teacher for higher secondary classes at Spring Days, and I will be hosting this session. I am very keen on promoting the humanities stream as a viable career option for students. Therefore, at Spring Days, we have put together this multi part series of virtual sessions organized to give parents as well as children an awareness on the different career options that are available for students out there. This session is being streamed live on YouTube, so parents and students can comment on the live video with their questions as well as comments. Please do not forget to mention your child's name and grade clearly when you ask your questions. After our guest speaker's presentation, we will have a question and answer session, and your questions will be answered at that time. Today is the third session in this series. As part of this session, we have with us someone very special, Smita Tikre. A warm welcome to you, ma'am. I now request Shili ma'am, our vice principal, to introduce the session and our guest speaker for today.
Dear parents and children, a very good evening to all of you. As you know, Spring Days is the first school in Vellore to introduce humanities and liberal arts streams for 11th and 12th grades. We did this in order to open up multiple career opportunities for children of Vellore to choose from and not to restrict themselves with the erstwhile science and commerce streams. Adjunct to this endeavor, we also think it is our duty as the educationalists to educate the children of Vellore on the career options available out there and not just looking at engineering, medicine, and commerce as options open to them. Though Spring Days management has a strong academic excellence and track record in these areas of studies. This year, we have started the humanities and liberal arts stream to give the same focus and importance to a broader range of career options. Complementing this endeavor, we launched career awareness series called Careers of the Future, and today is our third session. In this session, we will not be focusing on the aspects of entrance exams or best colleges in this field, etc. But we will focus on finer aspects of the skills, motivation, experiences of the speaker, and future prospects of the field. We have with us a very special person this evening, Miss Smita TK. Welcome, Miss Smita. Welcome to our schools, Spring Days and Lakshmi Garden. Miss Smita TK is a senior correspondent with the Quint, a digital news company. She has been covering news across politics, environment, civic issues, entertainment, real estate, and business, including several compelling stories, namely the differently abled, Karnataka farmer suicides, Tuticorin protests, and anger against Sterlite police brutality, sports, and arts. She has covered several key events like 2015 floods, 2016 cyclone, Jalkat protests, hospitalization, and death of late Chief Minister Ms. Jayalalitha, the formation of government thereafter, and the coronavirus pandemic. Many of the stories she has worked on has made a huge impact, including the most effective and noted ones are about a blind couple who were struggling with no means have received over rupees 6 lakhs. The national wheelchair basketball team received government aid. Fees was waived off for SSN college students during the pandemic. Women from economically lower backgrounds who make embroidered hoops got international orders for their products, and many more. Prior to these enterprising achievements, she was with NDTV and NDTV Prime, working as a reporter based out of Chennai. She worked with Hindustan Times Delhi for a brief period of time. Smita describes herself as a storyteller with a mic. But what we see her is as a charming, genuine, gumptious, and eloquent journalist of today's pressing issues, making a positive impact with her clear and unclouded stories. Now I request Smita to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for that introduction. It's an absolute honor to be sitting here and speaking about this. Very honestly, I remember maybe 15 years back standing in the Shrishti campus. Friends would always discuss someday we'd come back to the school, get up on that stage and talk to these students. And I can't believe that's actually happened and on a digital screen. But I'm really, really grateful, really honored to be here to be able to share whatever my experiences are. And what makes it very special is it's giving back to the same place where I am from, which made me who I am. The school I grew up in, the teachers who are now part of Lakshmi Karan and Spring Days are a huge reason for what I am today, for even picking this career choice for that matter. So, first of all, thank you. And to start with, it's careers of the future. What that was the headline of this discussion, and it's interesting that we from Vellore, we still look at this as a future option because we often see as only doctor and engineering, which is what was shown in the screen shot before as well, that they are the most asked for, most vouched for careers. And you realize that's not true. And it's amazing how you have a humanities stream. And very honestly, I didn't even know there was something called humanities until I came to college in Chennai, and I figured that there were people who could complete their 12th grade without having to do physics, chemistry, math, trigonometry, none of this. And that was brilliant. But again, it's first of all, be very, very, very happy about all the knowledge that you're receiving. First thing, cherish your school days. Growing up is the worst because it comes with a lot of responsibilities, paying bills, you're realizing that learning algebra was not the big deal. But then again, you get to follow your heart. You get to do things that you want to. If you do not want to pursue an interest in maths, college is the place where you can decide that. And then again, for those who are part of engineering or medicine streams, I'd like to let you know that your stream does not determine what you do. I mean, that would not be the case for medicine and engineering, but especially for arts courses such as journalism, you can be MD in doctor and still be an excellent journalist. In fact, some of these people tend up to being the best of journalists because they're very good niche knowledge in that particular stream, and so they can perform better. Even a lawyer, I know 2, 3 Supreme Court lawyers who ended up being journalists, and they're brilliant because they know their content, they know their fact, they know their contacts. And so, for all students watching, it doesn't matter what stream you're part of, this is a career option. So, on that note, I actually thought I'd talk about different aspects, and then I went through a lot of questions that you all had sent, and I thought I could just cover. I think most of my talking can just be answers to those questions because there was quite a lot of interesting questions that you all have asked. So, I'm just going to give you a quick brief about how I got into journalism and how this happened. So again, I did my a computer science stream, and I was very determined to do computer science journalism. Sorry, computer science engineering, and I was really interested in coding, and this is something that I wanted to pursue. I got decent marks, but then again, there was something in the back of my head which is always telling me that I have to do a job that I don't regret, that I don't wish I could have maybe given that a chance. So that's when I started thinking of other career options. This is in my head. And I also was looking at leaning towards math because I loved the subject. And my mother, being a math teacher, was very happy with my decision. But then again, no one really stopped me to think forward in the creative angle. And that's when I knew that always I liked English, I liked reading, I liked writing. Any chance I got to get on stage, I would be there. So that's when I realized, why not make a career out of it, or at least see how long this goes. And that's when I joined for BA English at Women's Christian College in Chennai. And then I moved on to do broadcast journalism in Asian College of Journalism. And then, as you heard, my work history was Hindustan Times for about a couple of months, then NDTV, and then the Quint right now. And another thing I'd like to tell, at all this time you think, oh, were you very clear about your career? Not at all. I was very clear that I was going to do computer science engineering as soon as I was done with 12th grade. And I got into very, very good colleges as well. It didn't matter because life took me in a whole different direction. And I'm very glad that I did that. And I'm very glad that I got the support that I did from my teachers, from my family. I remember every time I went back to school, there would be so much lovely comments, irrespective of whether they understood what I was doing, where I was going. And even after undergrad, I considered several other options. I thought theater, I thought marketing, I thought advertising and public relations. Thank God I didn't pursue any of that. By the way, excellent career options as well. And I think that will take several other episodes to cover. But definitely excellent career options. And that's when I thought journalism was my call and something that I enjoyed, basically talking stories, just like what I'm doing right now. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead read some of the questions because I don't want to repeat it in the rant that I'm going on. So some of the questions. What are the skills that make you a very good journalist? Most important thing is you have to love the job. It's not now in school people will paint this very lovely rosy picture about how money is not important, it's only about your passion. No, we need a decent amount of one money. We need to take care of ourselves, our families. We need to aspire to get more things, and that's all on your own accord. And a career is very essential, not just in terms of creativity and following passions, but to ensure that we have a safe and secure future. And for that matter, engineering and medicine are not your only ways of a secure future. You can be a freelance artist and still do excellently well. So, for parents listening to this, it's all right if your child wants to take a year off to figure out or even figure that out while he's doing a particular course. So, yeah, loving the job and obviously knowing to write and speak in simple but a comprehensive manner, a passion to persevere, to work under pressure. You should work very, very hard. It's also important to know world affairs, constantly read up, and most importantly, constantly learn. There's no specific qualifications, but you always need to own your skills. See, when I started journalism, I had a small Motorola phone which was color and which had 100 songs, and that was the most we could have probably just after college. And just then, free internet was beginning. So it has been a huge leap from there to moving to a profession right now where I shoot extensive documentaries all on my own, on my phone. So all this takes skills, and that is something that has to come on your own account. On that account, when I go for work right now in a digital platform, this is a selfie stick, which I'm sure all of you have seen, and a phone. That's all I possibly need to shoot an entire story to go work, and a bunch of power banks to go with. But yeah, so it is possible. But to get to this point where I'm confident that, you know what, I can go all the way to Kerala to shoot an interview with the Congress MP Shashi Tharoor all alone on a selfie stick and a phone, it takes a lot of homework to get there. And most importantly, like the highlight of all, you know your content, you know how to talk, but can you connect with people? And I think that's most important. Many people might say, you know what, you don't need to learn Hindi, enough of one two languages. The more the languages you know, the better any day, because there's nothing like a local connect. There are so many times that gone into communities who either think of me as a Malayali or a Tamil or a North Indian, and when I ended up speaking their language, they've opened up so much more, they've shared so much more, and I think that's the best way of getting stories that you wouldn't have realized you're going for that. You might just get a whole different new angle to a story. So making someone feel comfortable while you talk to them, letting them trust you, and that's one of the main skills that you need, that you learn on your way. It's not something that's born with you. So what about your job makes you happy? What makes you jump out of bed every morning? The fact that it's very real and it's all about people. It's not dissing any profession, but the fact that you can get up and pick a story that can make a difference, can bring a smile on someone's face, can help start a revolution or at least a small scale protest on social media. The fact that every day is new, and that's great. And there are constantly challenges, twists, turns, things don't work out. Uh, but it's not always great. Just so you think, you know what, being a journalist is every morning waking up doing exciting things. No, there are days you feel really dejected. You end up finding no stories. I know it's a possibility because you end up calling a dozen people and no one responds to you, and a story doesn't go out the way you want it to be. You take a lot of effort, then it backfires. But through all this, you just keep telling yourself, you know what, tomorrow, new day, new story. And I think that'll keep pushing you. Again, perseverance, and as long as you're happy with your job, I think every day will be fine for you. So yeah, this is a very interesting question that I got about how we've had print media for many years. That's reading newspapers, before TV journalism, and now we've moved to internet journalism. And the bracket says reading news on Facebook. It's a very interesting point I'd like to come back to. And it also says that Instagram and Facebook has enabled people to become influencers. So does this mean that journalism stay changing 5 years now will become more personal and not affiliated to media houses. There's also a question on polarization, intolerance, and fake news. I'll come back to that. Now, first, news doesn't happen just in the newsroom anymore. Earlier, yes, I remember in school we had a period called newspaper in education, which was enabled by the Hindu, which is a period I used to love because growing up, my mother would make me read the Hindu every single day. I had to pick up 5 difficult words I know, take a book, write it. You'll be tested for meaning, vocabulary, handwriting, everything. And I'm so glad my mother did that. And I wish so many other kids do that even today because the Gen Z vocabulary is quite bad. And I think we all need to work on it because you grew up a couple of years later, you'd like to read content which is not just anagrams or short forms of words. Vocabulary is very, very important. Even if you want to talk about your Gen Z issues, that's very important. So, yeah, it started with newspaper. And I remember at a point of time, I thought probably I'm just going to be a newspaper journalist because that's the only thing you thought of. And then, yes, TV is an extremely effective medium. And I love speaking, talking about stories. And that's why I did broadcast journalism, especially. And yeah, about digital. And no one, many people still call it new age journalism. It's not. It is digital. It's here. It's not the future. But again, let me make something very clear. These are different mediums of communications. As in, it's a medium of journalism. Newspaper is not dead. TV or digital has not replaced them. They are different mediums, and some of the mediums are way more effective than the others. None of us subscribe to newspapers anymore. Coronavirus has made it even more difficult for the concept of newspapers to be in vogue. And very honestly, it's become a little null and void, mainly because, say, there's a blast happening here. In the next second, you've gotten on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So your news is here. You don't have to wait for the next day. Even if there's a blast in Syria, I don't have to wait for another day to know the news. So newspapers have become more of an opinion piece driven space. Again, very good space, in fact. But yeah, definitely it's not as lucrative as the others because the future seems quite bleak for newspapers. And then there's TV journalism. So none of this can replace, as in individual influencers can't replace journalism because see, you need to understand it can move from a TV screen to a dozen apps on your phone, but the essence and the objective of journalism has not changed. Blogging has helped a long way in telling good stories, tips, tricks, experiences, but it cannot replace the school of journalism because it's the fourth pillar of democracy and it has to do its job of informing, educating, and only the medium can keep changing. Tomorrow, if news on radio is legalized, I'm sure it will be the most effective medium, much more than social media, probably because it can reach every single corner of the country. So, yeah, that's something that I would really like to clarify. Bloggers are not journalists. Every person who's on social media is not a newsmaker. Newsmaker, probably, but not a news reader, is not a reporter there. And just because you have social media, it's great that that whole barrier is broken. Earlier, there was some guy sitting in a suit behind a TV screen and just talking, and we'd listen. But now that's not the case. You don't like what he's saying, you go up to his Twitter profile and say, dude, you're not saying this right, or how could you say something like that? Here's my proof. And that kind of an interaction has enabled, as rather increased the accountability of all these organizations to ensure that they give good news. Again, now that if someone says, why is Arnav shouting all the time? Are we not make it right? It's the same people who go on these Twitter profiles who boost these journalists for the bad journalism as well. So there are fans. As long as there's fans for a certain kind of behavior, it will prevail. So I think it's all with us to stop fake news, to stop drama, to ensure that the journalism is the word as it is. About the fake news, I'm going to come back to that because a couple of others have also pointed that out. What are the premier colleges in India that would recommend, for an undergraduate course? Again, let me make something more clear. You do not have to do a degree in English or journalism to do journalism. On that note, I'm not discouraging you from doing that. I'm not telling you to go and do a course that you don't care at all. So for undergraduation, you can do a BA English course, a journalism course, media communication, history, humanities, any technically any stream. You can even give engineering a shot or give medicine or not medicine. Probably it's a lot of effort, but still, if you want to give physics, chem, math a shot, and then do journalism, it's always there. I personally would not recommend doing a bachelor in journalism because I feel that journalism is something that you need to learn on the ground and a more post graduation because as soon as you're out of school, you know a lot of things, but you don't know what to make out of it. So you need to figure that out. You need to place your knowledge in the right compartment so that you can actually use it practically. And for that, a UG course really helps. So an English course, a history course will all give you very good background knowledge of the world, the affairs of the world. And IIT has a brilliant humanities course, by the way. It's absolutely brilliant. So many people have come out of that have not ended up as journalists, but have ended up being PAs to government MPs and MLAs. And they're the ones who prepare the content for all the MPs, MLAs sitting in the parliament. And I'm saying that's a great option. So humanities course anyway is also great. And as for post graduation, so there are a bunch of options that I can suggest. Again, which is starting with Asian College of Journalism, is where I studied. I mean, it is a little expensive because it's a post graduation course. And in ACJ, I would still recommend it, one, because there are student loans. So get a loan, pay it on your own accord so that you don't have to rely on your parents, and you will figure out there will always be a drive that, you know what, and trust me, it's worth it, at least for my sake. I'm sure it's more expensive now, 6 years later. But what ACJ really trains you is it gives you a very hands-on experience. So the first day I walked in, I was given a camera in my hand, and I've never even seen a camera, probably with an uncle or someone, that's all. So you really train in all tenets of journalism so that when you enter the field, you can literally do anything. Even if you don't get a reporter's job, you can fall back and do something else. And that's one course. But at the same time, Jamia in Delhi is great. IIT, Indian Institute of Mass Communication in Delhi, Hyderabad Central University, Symbiosis Pune, IIJNM Bangalore, Lady Shriram College for Women in Delhi, School of Communication in Manipal, Xavier Institute of Communication in Mumbai, and Manorama School of Communication in Cotton. Don't worry if you didn't get their numbers right, just Google search for top journalism colleges, and I'm sure it's pretty much the same list. But again, just remember that even though you do these courses, it's not enough. You need to constantly innovate, write for local papers, intern with several agencies to understand the tricks of the trade. And even after you do post graduation, don't be disheartened if you don't want to do journalism after this, because it can be difficult. You might just realize, you know what, I don't want to be doing entertainment journalism. I want to get into the entertainment field. And many journalists have ended up being very successful public relations officers for very leading actors in the state, in the country. So always keep your mind open. It's all right. And at any point, you can get out and go back into the system. So that. Now, what are the competitive exams to be written after 12th for pursuing this field? Very honestly, nothing. There is no IIT entrance exam sorts of it. I mean, all these colleges, some of them have entrance exams, which we'll need to write, or they just look at your 12th grade exam, or they have a very basic test. So it's easy breezy, but work is not very easy. Yes, one of the questions that are very close to my heart is, having been born and brought up in Bangalore, when you went to a city college, what was your experience among city-bred students? I was so intimidated. I didn't like my first 6 months of college. By the way, in school, I did extracurricular. I went on stage every other chance I got. Almost every other week I was there. It's not that I ever shied away from any leadership roles or sports, name it, I was there. So I thought when I went to the city, life wouldn't be so difficult, wouldn't be so intimidating, because I was familiar with it. And I thought all of us had this very nice opinion that, you know what, we're nice people from our school. And then you come to the city and you see the place I saw, it was a women's college. The girls just speak without any fear. They speak their mind. And here we are, just like, even to ask an excuse me, ma'am, we'll ask 10 times, do you think I was right in asking that question? Am I overthinking? You know what? I just go back and do the background myself and then come and ask the question. And we always weigh it out. I make sure we're asking this right. And again, for people who think I'm like some shy girl, I was not a shy girl in school. I've always talked to everyone there's ever been in that school, part of every function possible. But then it was difficult. And then I realized this is something that all of us face. When we come to the city, we just automatically assume that we are lesser than them because we are townies. And you'll get a lot of criticism that will come your way. People will call you names. You thought school was hard with bad pet names. College gets worse. But again, it's fine. There was a point I just told myself, you know what, let me just give it a shot. Let me try being like how I was back in Shrishti. If it backfires, then we'll deal with it. So 6 months down the line, I was a college manager at a play. I joined the student council. I became the college president. And what's lovely is there are 2, 3 other students as well from Vellore, from Shrishti, who also joined the college, who are doing brilliantly well. And we've connected on these terms so many times to say, you know what, Vellore people are also quite nice. And we can kill it with the city breads. So don't ever feel disheartened. It's bad. People will be bad. You go to Delhi, you go to Bombay, it'll be worse. But you should just understand that you are so much worth it just because you don't like blab without thinking, because they are so outspoken. I think that's the word you'll be bombarded with when you go to the city. But it's okay. I think we have been given so much opportunity. First of all, these city breds don't even have a school ground. I don't know what they grew up with. You go to all the city schools, they have like one tiny building. And look at how beautiful, sorry, our schools are in Vellore. There's so much opportunity that you have. And right now with Spring Days, I know there's so much more. First of all, the fact that we're having a career guidance video is big, is enough to prove that, you know what, I think Vellore people would be fine. So don't worry, guys. Go, if you get like someone teases you, deal with it. It's okay. They'll soon figure out that you're really cool. So next, since news travels fast and bad news travels faster, how would you manage the stress of tight headlines? You have to be on your toes all the time. It is a little difficult. There are so many times you miss out on family functions. Your sister curses you for being late. Your friends hate you for missing out on their birthday parties. But it's okay. At the end of the day, they're the ones who are there for you and they will understand. And sometimes you'll be able to manage it. Many people say, you know what, you're not able to manage your work well. Not the case. You never know when someone's going to die or someone's called down a government or a major revolution is happening. Like say Jallikattu, who thought that we'll have to spend 2 weeks, day and night, just sitting in Jallikattu knots like that in Marina Beach? Never thought, but it comes your way. But again, these are very lovely experience that you have. You'd be telling so many more people and your friends that, you know what, I went and I chilled there with these bunch of people. We lit a fire and sat on Marina and I did a story. So yeah, I mean, it is difficult, but you deal with the stress. And I think if you really enjoy your job, you don't see it as stress. I don't see my work as stress. How do you handle a hostile or uncooperative interviewing? I'm so sorry. Neha G of 9th grade has asked this. How do you handle a hostile or uncooperative interview? You just push through. So the success of the story is solely with the interviewer. Even if it's a big story that's broken, it's about how well this story interviewer presents it. So first thing, make the person feel comfortable, do your research, have a lot of questions, a lot of them, and keep info handy. Make sure that you look, you sound, and also you are confident. And always start with simple questions, sometimes even questions to boost them. Say, for example, someone has introduced a very interesting app. So you can ask them about it, deal with it, and then go to the more controversial bits, because by then they'll be comfortable with you. They would have forgotten the presence of the camera. And yeah, and there are times there was a very popular Tamil actor, I don't want to name, whom I was once interviewing, and I had a very lovely, interesting bunch of questions. And for every question I asked, his reply was in 2 words. And I had nothing to go on. And my whole point of asking those 6 questions was based on his questions. I'll ask more. Sorry. And I'm fine. I'm not down, just down with the regular flu. So yeah. And in those times, you just see some point when they get a little relaxed, or another reason why you have to be very early on time so that you can read the situation. You can do small talk, not just with the interviewer, but people around them, so that you get a sense of what it is. Then I'll just give you an example of this. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with the whole Thoothukudi issue that happened about 2 3 years back. So 2 years back. So there was a company, just a quick recap, there's a factory called Sterlite, it's a copper smelter plant which has been running there for years. It's the world's largest copper smelter plant, taking care of most of the production for the country. But for over 20 years, people living around the factory have been complaining, saying that the fumes of coming off the factory has made every other street there get a cancer patient in place, at least one patient in every street. And so on one day, May 22, after 100 days of protest, we walk to the collectorate to submit a petition. The collector's not there. The cops open fire. About 13 people are killed. 50, 100 people are injured. And this is hundreds of women, men, children, everyone walking. So it became a huge issue. That was what I'm trying to say. And so we did a bunch of stories. And again, when I go, I travel alone. Right now with the Quint, I shoot my own stories. Sometimes I even attempt to edit them. So when I went for the story, I did a bunch of interviews with people who are sick, people who couldn't, who were injured, families, cancer patients. Another question here at this point in time I'd like to answer is about how do you find your story. So how I went there was, usually I always get the best drivers, and my drivers are my best buds because I'm a girl who travels alone. And don't worry, guys, it's not too risky. As long as you take care of yourself, you don't leave it to society or the country to take care of you. You take just enough precautions to take care of yourself. So when there was an auto driver whom I became friends with, who took me around everywhere. And a great thing was he's a fisherman, so he knew all the locals. So he found these stories that no media outlet had reported before. So in a matter of 5-6 hours, I had already done 6-7 stories, and I repeated this again. So these are small ways in which you find stories, in the most unassuming ways. So 1 month later, I went there, did a follow-up story. I talked to everyone possible, from the collector, the cop, the villagers, the activists, the doctors, the nurses. Everyone's done except for Sterlite, and they didn't respond at well. So after seeing the stories, someone in New York reached out to me, wrote an article about it, and when we shared that article, Sterlite came down. So why I tell you the story is about a difficult interviewer. This guy is sitting there, and he sent a PA ahead to discuss with the journalist about what questions exactly need to be asked. And only because I had done my research, I had gone there, I had names of villagers, activists on my fingertips. For every question that the PRO asked, which was accusing me of my journalism, I had an answer to give. At the end of it, he had nothing. And the CEO came down, spoke, and ended up being one of the most effective interviews, which he himself came down for. And that's possible because you did your homework. Truth can always prevail as long as you push for it and you have enough attachments to prove it. How do you stay informed? How do you know the reliability of your information? Again, I'll come to the whole fake news aspect of it. Someone had also pointed out that with social media handles, facts become muddled and it becomes more of a sensation than news itself. Okay, first thing, read people, read opinions, talk to people, discuss. You never know that someone like actor called Sonu Sood, who was just doing villain roles in Tamil cinema, would become a very important person during coronavirus, who has been donating, getting so much help for people who have been affected, who almost want to kill themselves because of the coronavirus pandemic. And that's the power of social media. It's brilliant. But at the same time, there is a lot of fake news that goes on. In fact, when I started journalism, I was told that the way you do fake news check was before you present any story, even if it's the most silly story, you know what, a small story, say a wife uh, accuses a man of cheating and has killed her 2-year-old daughter. I'm so sorry for picking such a gory story. But yeah, that's a very small story that usually comes from a cop, and that's enough proof. The cop. But it's not enough. A good news story has to have at least 2 or 3 different contacts who confirm the story, so that you know for sure that there is nothing wrong. There is no way you have reported wrong. Because at the end of the day, you're informing millions and millions of people. You never know the kind of which audience you're actually reaching out to, catering to. So yeah, but again, when it comes to one very important thing after WhatsApp and Facebook and all came in was we realized it's taken a whole new dimension. First things first, never trust anything that comes on Facebook or WhatsApp as it is. Like someone had told, I read news on Facebook. Yeah, as long as it's an article shared by someone. If it's just 2-3 lines of opinion posted on something, that's not, that doesn't make it news. Just because your family, 5 family members say that, you know what, Jana Gana Mana is the world's best national anthem and it has UNESCO heritage. It doesn't even make sense. But I'm sure all of you have got this ridiculous WhatsApp message on all your groups. And I think it starts with something as simple as this. Read it. First of all, if you already know it sounds absurd, that's enough proof for you to just Google it for 1 second. Just check Jana Gana Mana best national anthem. I bet it'll give you 100 articles which will explain how this fake news has started. And if one person, that's you, points this out and say 3 family groups which have 20 people, at least someone, at least one person in this group will think twice before they share another absurd message. And this goes with everything. Some of these messages are very, very scary. It's ended up killing a lot of people, fake news. I'll give you an example of how you check fake news, just to give an understanding. I think last year or something, actor Vishal, we got this news that IIT raids were going on in actor Vishal's house, and usually national media is concerned only with actors like Rajnikant, Kamal, and something with actor Vishal made it big. One, because he was the head of the Nadigar Sangha, which is the South Indian here, Tamil Nadu Cine Artists Association. And also, he had made a few very strong comments in the ruling party. So everyone started putting out this story, so much that one of my bosses called me and was very upset that I had not flashed this. And the reason why I had not flashed it, because I didn't have a single official confirm that the raids were happening. The only person who told me something similar to that was happening was my friend, who's a local journalist, standing outside Vishal's house saying, இங்க ஒரு கார் இருக்கு, there's a car here, பெரிய காரா இருக்கு, so it looks like these officers' cars, so it's IT raids. So based on this, Times Now, Republic, India Today, Dinatandi, Pudhiya Thalaimurai, name it, every channel was flashing it. My mentor in NDTV is the one who told me, better to be late and right than to be early and wrong. And exactly what I did, I called the GST office and they were damn amused. The officials, they said, we're all watching TV and we don't even know what these GST raids are because we're sitting here, none of that's happening. So the entire news story never happened. So we put out a story saying no raids at actor Vishal's house. And you tell me, how many of you have ever seen a news agency put out a story, you know what we said was wrong, we take it back. Now you may say, you know what, this doesn't really affect how raids are happening. But that's how every single story begins. And you could also be a reason for that message to be circulating, to be influencing, to be creating a lot of hatred, communal unrest. So always a small Google check, Google search will give you, at least even if it doesn't give you the exact message, it'll give you like an earlier story, which will give you some sort of context. And at least that can help you in explaining to your friends, family, and to yourself to make sure you read right good news. Um, there are okay, there are lots of types of journalism. So Someone is asked, investigative, sports, political, trade, broadcast, online, entertainment, what's your opinion? First, get into journalism. Then you figure out who will not. First of all, you can't start investigative journalism. Tell me what you want to investigate. Why are people vegan? Because of because of the abuse of cows and something like that happens even in Bello. Now you tell me, how can you do a story when first nobody knows who you are? Two, you don't know anyone involved in the story. Three, you don't have perspective to understand the story. And so I'm not saying for that you have to push yourself and do crime journalism or something like that. No, start. First of all, study. Do your undergrad, postgrad. There's no post graduation course, immediate course, other than when you go abroad, where you can specialize in science journalism, which is great, tech journalism and the like. But as it is for UG and PG, there is no specialized course that you can do. So first thing, you learn the trade, get into the industry, and then figure out as you meet more people, you learn more on the ground. First, you learn the art of interviewing, how to make your people open up to you, how to make it as transparent as possible, how to make it interesting, different ways of storytelling. And then you will be able to pick what you really want to specialize in. For all you know, you might not want to do investigative journalism, and you might just love business or real estate. So yeah, I don't think you need to worry about all of that. First, right now, just take it slow, keep it clear, and ensure you get into the field, and then you figure out on your way. And always keep an open mind for other things, anything for that matter. We call media as the watchdog of democracy, but what if media sources are biased towards specific political parties? That is the problem with today's journalism, with today's world. If alone people were truthful, non biased, I think that's a very ideal world. At least when I finished my school or college, I thought, oh, I'm going to this beautiful world where I'm going to unravel secrets. A bunch of us are going to do this. The world's going to become a better place to live in. We're going to, and by the biggest lie of this century is in growing up in school, we were told 2020 is going to be the year. Abdul Kalam really had this beautiful course charted out for us, and look at where we're sitting right now. So, yes, it is difficult, and that's why choosing the place of your profession is very important. You need to understand that I'm a very well known journalist. I come on TV every day. A lot of people talk about me. I'm probably a verified handle on social media. All this, yes, matters, but at the end of the day, conscience is the most important thing. In fact, the skills I would wanted to mention that as well is most important, because at the end of the day, your story that you do has to be right, has to be truthful, has to make a difference in someone's life. And if you have gone the wrong way, you can't. That whole question you asked me, or when you wake up in the morning, do you have joy? That won't be happening. Wake up in the morning, you'll wake up with fear, the fact that you wrongfully supported. So are you saying? So are you asking me that? Oh, then where do we join? There are a few good organizations who join. You might not get as many perks of being online as many times or on TV as many times, but it's all right. You will, your conscience will take you in the right direction. And there are so many lovely opportunities. There are so many wonderful people to work with, but always be very clear about your stand itself. And if your company asks something to do that is not right, put your foot down and stand. It's okay if you lose your job. At least you don't lose your integrity. Are there any famous journalisms by you? There are so many of them, but I just like to mention one person, that's Sam Daniel, who is the journalist from Chennai in NDTV even now. He's been a journalist for 20 years, a wonderful man. The reason why I really like him is something that I'm going to repeat is he told me it's better to be late and right than to be first and wrong. And another thing he told me was to be, when you report, say you're standing in knee deep or neck deep waters, even then you have to have a very calm sense of demeanor. There's to be reason and logic, and there's to be no room for emotion. even if it's an emotional story, the story will come out, the emotions will come out as it is. You don't have to be the one projecting them. And that's why the journalist is just a narrator who guides you through the story, and that's about it. Many asking social media, you guys, journalists are putting themselves, they're making it all about them. No, it's just different ways of storytelling, because now there's so much content and people will just swipe by. Tell me how many of you sit and watch a documentary on Karnataka farmer suicides if I said to you right now? No, you won't. You'll just pick and watch actor Vijay is entering politics. So that's always there, and something you'll work around. Yeah. So this is from Harish Bala, who said he has always had interest into getting into journalism. To be specific, a wildlife journalist or a crime investigative journalist. So if I do journalism, a lot of people tell me in the first 5-10 years they will be troublesome and I might regret it, which I cannot turn back and choose another career. Okay, first thing, all these people who've been talking to you are all wrong. Please tell them that. Actually, you don't even have to have a conversation with them. No, nothing like that. You can literally go into any profession. It can be medicine, it can be engineering. Understand something. Right after school, it seems that what you choose is the end result, is the end game. No, it's your life. You thank God we're in 2020. We are all having the options of even having these conversations, talking about different things. We didn't even have internet. We had to use a dial-up connection in school, which you had to pray for that no one calls in the landline at the same time. So, no, you can enter the field at any time, exit at any time, and even if you become an engineer, doesn't mean you can't become a journalist. About the two things that you mentioned, wildlife journalism, it's wildlife photography because it's not as much as journalism, and it's a whole different section. So, you can definitely work with National Geography, Animal Planet. You can start with something small. You can work on freelance documentaries, and after you gain enough experience, of course, but it's a great career option. So always consider that. And you can do good photography courses. You can go abroad, and they're brilliant courses for that matter. And for investigative journalism, I'm going to repeat what told a couple of minutes back, saying you can't jump into investigative journalism. You will first get to journalism, learn the trade, build your contacts, figure out what you want to expose, why you want to do it, have a proper plan. It's like a mini dissertation you do. You don't do a dissertation after 12th standard. You have to work your way through undergrad, postgrad, a thesis. That's what a dissertation is. So I just realized that I'm sure back in school I didn't even know what dissertation meant. And I'm sure you guys are way smarter than that. But anyway, so this is from Lily Sangeeta Nakka. Why did you take up journalism? I think I answered that a lot now. But yeah, I loved engineering, but I at the end of the day loved writing, speaking. Just wanted a job that I loved, and something that I can talk to about my friends and keep their attention. And no, not just that. So also, I love talking to people. I love being social like this, finding new stories. So yesterday I went all the way to Kalpakam and I met a bunch of girls who are fisher folk who are being trained by a coach. These girls, by the way, 13, 14-year-olds who've all dropped out of school this year because their parents don't have money for due to the coronavirus situation. But they're being trained in kabaddi, and it was wonderful. I just spent the entire day playing with a bunch of kids on the beach, shooting with them, and it's just one girl. They have no intimidation whatsoever. They themselves, they had food with them. It was a very lovely experience, and how many people can describe their workday like that? So that's clearly why I want to do this. Ashmita. Ashmita has a bunch of questions actually. What made her become a journalist? I answered that already. What is her first report about? Uh, it's very sad that I can't pinpoint on my first report. As in, I was with Hindustan Times at that time, and my first story was on how. Oh, wow! What an irony! I just remember. My first story was about how 12th after 12th grade, students are really confused about what to join, and so there was a dip in the number of people who were writing for IIT entrance exams. That was my first story, and what an irony that I'm telling that right now. Are you honest in your job? Yes, absolutely. I mean, in my different, honestly, if I was dishonest, I don't think I'd be telling people that I'm dishonest. But no, no, please, please, please stay honest. stay true is very important, because I don't think I would be called for this if I was a dishonest journalist, and it just fails the whole point, because the point of journalism was to keep a check on democracy, on governance, on people, to tell people's woes, and you can't break your integrity for that. So just stay truthful, guys. It's not very difficult. You can earn, you get name, people will like you, works. Did you make any changes using your job? Yeah, this is something that I really wanted to talk about. I know I have talked a lot about, oh, we can make a difference, telling people stories, but when I saw it actually happen, I was really amazed at the reach social media could have. Earlier with NDTV, I have done a bunch of stories, and some of them have helped out a lot of people. And but then when I moved to digital journalism, one of the main reasons why I moved to was the kind of connect that digital journalism can have. It's not often that all my stories make brilliant views or have millions of people liking it. No, there are times it has got hardly good few views, but they do really well because they can get help. For example, recently there was a visually challenged couple that I had found in Chengalpet in Tamil Nadu, and they were struggling. This is nothing; it's just a couple who was struggling. And the whole point of finding the story was I thought during pandemic we're not supposed to shut up surfaces, and for the visually challenged, that's their only way they can find their way through something. So how are they managing? And I contacted 10 different people when I zeroed in on it. Again, before you zero in on a subject, you need to ensure that it's genuine, because tomorrow, if they get help, you are responsible. You are vouching for them. You, as a person, then comes your company. So we did a very small story. What was really sad that the couple has a child which was speech impaired, and it was a lovely. I think about 3.5 minutes, very short video, and something about the video when it was on so much genuineness that I had a feeling, you know what, this will have an impact. I think the story was out. It clocked 10 views, and we had already 5 mails from US, Switzerland, Dubai, Singapore, our own Chennai, asking how they can help the couple. I think in a matter of 2 weeks, the couple has 6 lakhs. They have a Keto fundraiser campaign going on in which they have raised over 2 lakhs for them. And again, this couple has no idea what the internet is. They have a Dabba phone and they call me every now and then to explain they don't have many family members. It's still sad because they have all this money, but there's no one to give them a house because they're visually challenged, and there's so much stigma in society. But it made a huge difference. Today they have saved up money. They're very excited for their child's future, and they were going to kill themselves 2 3 days before I met them because they were really scared if they won't be able to make ends meet because they were selling kadla mitai, a chikki, on the trains. So really happy the kind of impact it have, and not because of me. It's because there are so many lovely people out there. Even if I don't have a verified handle or as many followers, your stories will make reach. There's a wheelchair basketball team. They're the first differently able team to win on an international ground. And a year back, I used to talk to them, lovely bunch of people, and they said it's really sad that they're the only differently able team to represent the country, but there's no government recognition. They didn't have money to travel to Bangkok for Asian Para Games qualifiers. So we did a small story and we tweeted it out to Rajavardhan Rathore, the sports minister back then. I think in a matter of 2 hours, they got a call saying the government will take care of all of that. You know, the kind of joy just like plummets you to it. It's amazing. And that's the kind of help that you can do with social media. And it can go a long way. There are a lot of people who remember you. Even the whole Thoothukudi thing I said, every time there's an issue that comes up, or there are trolls saying all kinds of stuff to you on social media, it's lovely to see random strangers step up and speak for you, citing your stories. So, yes, you can make a lot of difference with this. And follow my Instagram. It's not a peg to see if all the stories I told you like are validated. How did I feel when I became a senior correspondent? I felt amazing as it is when I became a journalist. And when I even cleared the ACJ exam, because I was told it's very difficult, and it was really difficult. And I don't know, just I very honestly, I don't care about the designation, whether it's a principal, correspondent, or a senior. Is really the job, and my job profile has not changed much because I love being a reporter, and I don't want to move to a place where I'm sitting at home and just not going out. Again, by the way, the perks of the job. I'm doing digital journalism and I work from home. Don't think it sounds like a perk right now during COVID when all of us are sitting at home. But when the world was outside and slaving their asses off by traveling up and down by public transport, love that I can work from home, go to work whenever, come back whenever. I mean, based on stories. And when I say whenever, sometimes it's just the most odd times. But yeah, that is a perk that comes with the job. Nivedita, where there are so many professions coming up, what is the uniqueness in journalism? Uniqueness in journalism. Journalism also has evolved in so many ways. Digital journalism, what I do. Give me an example. During elections, we always, I'm sure, like for some of you who might not be interested into political journalism, might not watch it enough. But anyway, when you see on TV, usually what are the stories like? There'll be a chat with the chief minister candidates, sometime to spice it up. They'll have a chai pe charcha. Basically, they'll go have chai with the minister and some roadside shop to add the whole uh, casual vibe. Again, this casual vibe has a camera person, two light men, stopping that particular area of people, pushing them away. So that's again, and it's fine, it's great. I mean, at the end of the day, the connect is important. But right now, I put the story on social media. I bet nobody will even click on it because social media is completely different in terms of receiving stories. So, for example, when I went to Hyderabad, this was ahead of elections about 2 years back, wanted to do an interesting way in asking the girls in the city what they want. You should just keep the bunch of them, stand around them, talk to them, and then take random shots of women's safety related videos and patch them through. But then want to do something different. So what I thought was I picked four women bikers and we drove around Hyderabad and we chatted while on the bike on women's issues. It started with something as, okay, are you feeling safe? When they actually took me to Charminar and they told, you know what, let me show you an old photo. They showed how in the midnight, a bunch of women had drove down these roads and they were all coming from their own houses and they felt extremely safe. So she's actually showing a bunch of pictures, but that is itself representative of how safe they feel. And at the same time, we went and stopped at a dosa kada and Hyderabadis were explaining to us how they have the best sambar, and I just like refused to believe, accept that. And we had a very lovely meal. And while we were having the meal, they were talking about how expensive life is compared to other metros and the rest of the city. And it was a very fun. So it was entirely shot in a vlog-like manner, and that is something journalism can do right now. Back in the day, it can't be one guy holding a camera and doing that. And that evolution and that so many people watched it, and that's great. And there's so many ways in which you can push journalism. You can just do happy stories. There's a guy who does 99 stories on Instagram who does one story in 99 seconds. And they're all really good, happy stories, like a guy conserving badam trees in some remote village there. So it's possible. There are so many niches in just this. So yeah, I mean there are other professions as well which you can look into. Please look into. Roshni Murthy, what was the difference in all the news channels you worked in? It's huge difference. So I started with a newspaper agency, Hindustan Times. It also had an online space. So I was working on an online space about 6 years back. Extremely different from now because back then it was just starting. Even internet, free internet, unlimited everything itself was just happening then. So journalism had just not figured out how to do it. So the newspaper, all your grandfathers will open that centerfold every Sunday and they'll read that extremely lengthy article that how much ever you read, you will never understand because they're very intense opinion articles. So many times they try to repurpose and just publish this online. and it doesn't work because people don't really enjoy it. So you need to change the way you put content online. Something I learned there. But again, love the experience. Then TV journalism was amazing. It was on the toes, going everywhere. And in the 2 years I worked, Chennai had the worst 2 years, whether with floods, cyclone, Jayalalitha, uh, being passed away, Shashikala. It's a very intense 2 years. So I was very happy that I was part of the agency because it just kept me like running all the time, understanding the trade, work under pressure. So that's why I say I don't have stress on the job because I work under pressure so much that it's all right. That I can pack a bag in 2 minutes because you'll get like a 5 minute heads up to go to Pondi. You will learn to get the best food in different places because of the people you travel with. Then digital journalism. I think I just explained how amazing digital journalism is and the reach and impact. So yeah, it has been extremely different. I can't say which one was the best. I mean, technically, right now is the best because I am in this space and I'm able to have my own style of doing something. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, TV journalism really helped me shape be this reporter today. How do you prepare for your interviews? What's your work schedule? You prepare. Like, say, for example, this particular call I've prepared. I have an entire notepad of notes written for all your questions in case, I mean, most of them, I'm not like reading them out, yes. But still, you prepare for every single story of mine. This mentor that I told you 20 years into journalism, he told me very clearly, however old you get, prepare, always prepare, prepare, prepare. Never give up on that. So that's about. I, uh, I just think you should always be prepared, irrespective of whether it's journalism or otherwise, because there is someone who's going to listen to you, who's going to take your word forward in their lives, whether it's information or otherwise. And I think you have to stay accountable to that. I think I've covered all the questions that I've received so far. So if Shirley ma'am
Wonderful.
can pick any
Yeah.
questions that you guys have asked on the YouTube
Yeah.
video, and then I
Thank
can
you.
take that as
Yeah.
well.
Thank you, Smita. That was really a clear, and you answered the questions like really precisely. So I'm sure children are happy that you really answered them precisely. Thank you so much for that. So a quick summary. I would say that the key takeaways, at least for children or for me, should be open to learning and relearning, right? Open to changing your goals. And I really love that when you said that it's if you're confused about your goals, it's okay. So that's really the reason also why we started this career awareness program, to make children aware, not to take a decision per se. Yes, just to make them aware of the different options so that they take an informed decision in the future, right? So it's okay to be not to know at this stage, whether you're in 8th grade or 11th grade, doesn't matter, or even 12th grade, it's okay. But know that you've not yet decided and take an informed decision. Being open to learning new skills, being open to failures, and being open to changing goals, right? So that would be my summary. And I must mention that, yeah, like you said, a lot of us, stranger among us, and being born and brought up in Vellore. And of course, I have to mention Usha ma'am also here. She's no stranger also to us, and a lot of teachers here at Spring Days. So yeah, she was with us in Spring Days the very first year before moving to Chennai. So very nice to be talking to you, Smita. And I think you answered most of the questions, but I'm just going to summarize three of them before I pass it on to Suparna ma'am. And so the first thing was the skills, right? So the skills that you need or one needs to develop to be a good journalist. So you mentioned communication in terms of writing, in terms of delivery, storytelling, skill of storytelling, a story that will actually stick, connecting with people, empathy, if I can put it that way, empathizing with people so that they open up to you and they develop that trust in you. More languages, is going to help with empathizing with people and really learning on the run, on the job, and being able to work under pressure. Skills that you would need to develop, or the skills that you need to have to be a journalist. And what makes you happy? The question was, I think, what makes you excited to jump out of bed every day? And I loved it when you said that I'm not always excited to jump out of bed. So it's not that every day is as exciting as how it is when you come on to, in your stories, the way you come out. It's not always happening every day, but the perseverance to make it happen, I think that's what counts. And also bringing the positive change with your stories, positive impact on people's life, right? So that is your motivating factor to be a journalist. And yeah, the how this field is going to change in the next 5 years. Yeah, and you said the essence of journalism will not change. It will continue to be the fourth pillar of democracy. Just the medium will change. So as the medium changes, I think as journalists, you will have to see what stories stick, how to deliver that story, how to change it so that it suits the viewer and the attention span of the viewer, and all of that, right? So wonderful, Smita. I just have one question for you before I pass it on to Suparna ma'am. So you as a journalist, you also have a huge following on Instagram, right? So how important it is for you to build your personal brand? I mean, this question can apply to other professions also, but you have the brand of the Quint, and then you have your own following on Instagram. How is it important for journalists to do that? Is it important for journalists to be a social media influencer also?
It's actually a very important question. And like you said, it's not just for journalism. For all streams right now, it has completely changed the whole dynamics of how you do your job. It's not just about 8 hours. First of all, I don't think any jobs right now have 8 hours. Even you can see how people in the education industry are still using systems, and you work beyond 6 o'clock. I don't remember. The only time I had to stay back at 6 o'clock was if I had to fight back for permission to play basketball. That's the only extra time you did. But things have changed. And having a, I'm very sure, yeah, okay, let's just call it a personal brand on social media. Sometimes it's very important when you want to see through the direct impacts that your story has made. And I say impact, not necessarily that they have to get 6 lakhs money. When I say the kind of response, the feedback that you get, because feedback is very important in improving your stories and finding more people who can actually add value to your stories. So when I first started my Instagram, and I had a personal handle going, so I specifically started this for my journalism. And I'm not someone. It's very ironical when I say I'm a very personal person, considering I put up a lot on social media. But then I always keep it. The most important thing that all of you need to understand is the number of followers don't matter at all. I know all of you would love it. I mean, even I'd love to have 20K followers. And I wish, I'm not saying that I'm one of those saints who doesn't go check the numbers. I mean, all of us do. But sometimes it just doesn't happen. And just so that you get numbers, don't go away from the brand that you want to create, that the image that you want that particular account to have. So, say for journalism, the whole point I wanted was to get feedback, get criticism, and also occasionally tell people, you know what, this is how we did it. Because these are things that will never go on air. You know what, I went here, this is what it is, and this child was really adorable, it's really sweet. And watching that adorable comment, some 5 people will send 5 stories that's similar to that. So, one, you will get new stories. 2, you will be able to empathize so much. You will be able to understand it better. You will be able to become a better person that way. So yes, and when it comes to brand also, you should be very particular about what you want to show. So say I have made it very clear that, you know what, I want to show my life as a journalist. Again, I didn't say my journalism work. My life as a journalist. It comes with a lot of background, BTS footage. It comes with a lot of, you know what, I'm sitting on a beach and chilling on my off day. Because like you said, it's not, and some days to say, put out like a poem in a very workish place where you're talking about the difficulties of work. It's important because, like I said, it's become too real, the journalism itself. Not just journalism for the matter. If you do digital marketing, having a separate brand for yourself, be that. You want to do a cupcake business. How do you run a cupcake business? There are people who thrived just with an Instagram handle. But it's about like curating specific content. Again, an Instagram picture or a video cannot go on Facebook or Twitter. And very honestly, the kind of audience that's in Facebook is no longer the younger audience. It's our parents or grandparents. Technically, our grandparents, not even our parents. Even our parents have come to Instagram now. So, and on Twitter, it's a whole different world. And I don't want to like barge you with Twitter yet, but guys, go see Twitter. Instagram is not where you read stories. But again, so you just keep constantly catering your content to different handles. So when I go for a story, I shoot separately for Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Facebook again, not anymore because the reader, because it's a more elderly audience, giving them a link to read is enough because many people will click on that link and read it, or they might just share it as it is. So, but then it's very, very important. So, even now going forward, always ensure that you can create a brand on social media that will help you with your cause. It can even be Fridays for Future where you're rallying for climate change. But it's very important. So, use social media. You guys don't need skills because you already have it, but make sure to keep my personal thing. Make sure to always keep your private to your public, because as it is, what you share on public is a lot. So always have some sense of divide, because someday you won't be able to take the trolls, the hate. Anyway, you're going to get all of that, but it'll always make sure your image is more intact and right and proper when you have a separation between your private and public life.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you, Smita. So I'll pass it on to Suparna ma'am for the questions. Any more questions coming from the children or directly to rapid fire? Questions from the children, ma'am?
Yes, there are. There are two questions, Smita ma'am, that has actually come up, and that has caught the eye also. And am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Very much. Suparna ma'am, you there? We can. I think we can hear you, Suparna ma'am. Okay. So I would ask one of the questions that's coming in. So in terms of you were involved in a lot of theater as well as storytelling at school. So how much did that really help you? Because here at Spring Days we have storytelling for the younger classes, and then fourth grade onwards we do it as theater. So we want to hear from you how important that is for being a journalist or even anything else, any other career.
It's very, very, very important. Again, the reason why I should probably give a list of reasons why Shushti and teachers and my friends there made me the person I am. And again, the reason why I kept saying I always went on stage every chance I got was because every single time I went on stage, it's taught me stuff today for actually standing in front of the camera and talking. In fact, I'm always used to asking the questions, so this time it's very odd that I'm sitting and doing the answers. But again, that's possible because I've had that kind of a backing from my school. There are so many times I've failed at something miserably, but that has never stopped any of my teachers from saying, you know what, just don't try that. I mean, I can't dance, but that's never stopped any of my teachers from pushing me to try dancing because I'm anyway doing the acting and music. And trust, it really helps. And guys, it's the only time you can like miserably fail because you're still in school and your friends will forget. When you come to college, you feel you're too adult to do all of that. And also, you don't have the time because you also have a career to work for. You have actual education. I mean, you realize how much you study for college. School is nothing compared to what is there, but nothing to be afraid of in case you're wondering. But yeah, and as for theater, it again helped a lot because the main bottom line of theater is to lose inhibitions, to not have a barrier, to freak out and be yourself and express every single emotion in a heightened possible way. And if you want to do that, you should be able to first make peace with yourself. You should be able to accept yourself and do it. And you know you love doing so much that you don't care about the reaction from the other person or from the audience. And why has this helped? One, Losing inhibitions, lesson 101 to start college anywhere. Second, to do a career. And every time we got on IHAs, I don't know what it's called at Spring Days, inter-house activities at school, it gives you a sense of confidence that even if you're booed, even if it's all right, it's okay. Only if you try will you fail. And that's something that I taught. And I would tell everyone to do theater. Even if you're really bad at it or you feel you're not good for it, there's always one role that you can do it, you can fit in for theater, whether even if you're just a musical or arts person, because it really goes a long way, not just for me as journalist, whether it's public relations, advertising, marketing, even in engineering. You can do much more. You don't have to just do coding all day. And for doing that, theater really helps. Public speaking. I've been part of these elocution competitions every time. Rajan sir would like tell me to go to Scudder for these competitions or Don Bosco, and all that helped. So many times we've like lost, so many times we've I think won, but it's really helped because it helps you accept failure as well, and that's why that first 6 months I was very intimidated in college that I was telling you about. I was able to tide over the 6 years, and by third year, I was the college president, and I attributed 100% every single leadership role to my school because I took that plunge back then. Probably back in school, you don't have to stand for an election, but again, you have to work for it. And while one main thing I wanted to, why I talk about how you know what you can do any course that you want, and very honestly, I know people in post graduation would have failed in one semester or something, and they are excellent journalists. One big thing that I wish many people told to us back in school was marks isn't everything. You're the topper today need not be the best performing guy killing it at life 5 years down the line. So many times the guys who perform the lowest in class, who perform average in class, it's not about the marks. It's about how equipped you are to take on this world, how passionate you are about something. I don't remember every single topper from my batch, but I remember a dozen others who are underperformers who you wish you were there, who have explored avenues that we never thought were jobs. So one main thing that for all students and teachers, sorry, and parents, marks isn't everything. It's all right, even if you don't get enough, but at the same time, don't not work hard. Work really hard because it goes a long way. All you study in school every single day, every single experience that you have really helps you to be the person you are, and don't be hard on yourself if you don't get that 499 mark that your neighbor ended up getting. No one's going to remember your neighbor. If you follow your heart, everyone will remember you.
Wonderful, Smita. So actually, I'm going to relate that to the second question. It's from Ethel from 8th and Lakshmi Garden. Don't you get afraid when you just come in front of everyone and report a news? So don't you get afraid in front of a mic is her question. And actually, the answer that you give is the right fit there because it's really about using all the different activities that is going on at school to give yourself that exposure so that when you're really going into your career, be it journalism or anything else, you already have that experience, somewhere in your school life that you can bank upon. Yes, you will feel scared, you will have like sweaty palms, but that will happen even when you're 60, so it doesn't matter, right? So it's your experience that's going to give you that kind of a backup. So explore as much as possible in school, all the activities, and I think Hetal, you'll be taken care of. Okay, so yeah, I think Suparna ma'am is here. Ma'am, do you want to do you
Yes,
have
ma'am. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I actually have two questions. I actually have two questions from the children themselves. So the first question, it goes like, it has been asked by Reena from 8B Lakshmi Garden School. And she has asked that, ma'am, don't you get afraid when you see so many like booms and flashing and everyone coming up? So don't you feel very afraid, ma'am?
Yeah, we just finished that question, ma'am. So yeah, we can move on to the next one, ma'am. Suparna, ma'am.
Okay. The next one, I actually missed it. My laptop crashed. Sorry. So the next one that was, it came from two children, and I felt it should be actually be answered, or at least attract. It should be brought to attention. Is that journalism is, according to the two girls, journalism is different. Is difficult for the girls, and their parents are not allowing them to take up journalism as a profession. They are saying that there is an apprehension in the mind that there are not too many girls there out there as journalists, and is it going to be safe? So how to change the mindset, ma'am? Or how can the children, can they explain their parents that yes, journalism can well be a very viable option for the girl students also out there? Yes.
Yes. Actually, both your questions, I have like a similar answer. Again, I am from Vellore, a small town. I didn't know the idea of journalism. I mean, I knew what journalism was. I knew that I think two people from Shrishti, much older, I think Ramya, ma'am's batch, had ended up doing journalism for a brief while. So it started off with me calling random people up and asking. I mean, always, I told you, do your homework. So called up every single person I know to understand journalism. And I say every single person, I've talked to people who had a similar history, who were from a smaller town, that is from Vellore, and have similar backgrounds. I mean, my family is a very simple middle class family. My mother is a teacher, was a teacher in Shrishti for 15 years. I mean, as long as I studied there, even after that, my sister also was there. And we did, I mean, obviously we thought, we dreamt a lot, but never thought we'd be going for journalism. But this was always there in the back of my head. So I understood what I wanted to do in journalism, which was basically tell stories. And in 12th grade, telling stories didn't mean anything, by the way. Even now, it sounds very abstract, but it makes sense because of social media. Back then, it meant storybooks, probably. So I told my mother one day that, you know what, I just want to give this a shot. What do you think? And she said, okay, fine, let's first think about it. Let's talk to people about it. So I think one of the main reasons, my main ways to ensure decision and for your to convince your parents is talk to people, give testimonials about how journalism is. So each of them will recommend a different degree to do. How the degree will turn out. I will tell you how it's to study in WCC BA English. I can tell you 10 different stories of how people were in BA English and MCC, doing communications in MOP, doing journalism in some other place, something else in Stella, something else in Xavier's, how their experience was like. So gather that, tell your parents that. Then look for options. Like in the beginning of this conversation, I talked about the undergraduate, postgraduate courses. Leave post graduation and all. Forget that. Just take undergrad. Take it down. Understand why. Okay, if I'm going to pick up Women's Christian College, okay, call 5 people who are from WCC and ask them how life is there. Understand. Again, this is not just for your parents' sake, it's for your own sake. Many times when we're young, we might just say, you know what, I'll we'll take care of it when it comes. No, we have to research because you can't get into it and regret it. I mean, always you can switch, but it's always better to take an informed decision than just follow something because it sounds cool or it's different. Or you think arts is easy. No, I mean, arts is easy, but some parts of arts is easy. But again, it's only if you have the passion. Otherwise, you can fail miserably even in arts. About being afraid. No, very honestly, I have not been afraid on the field when I go, and that's because I make sure that I'm in no situation that is not right for me. And how did I do that? Say I went to Nagapattinam, which was my first solo work trip. And I'm not someone who enjoys solo trips at all. I've seen a lot of people on social media go about it, but no. And when I went to Nagapattinam, before I go to a location, you make enough. So I talked to 15 local people to zero in on one driver. And I would have talked to 20 drivers apart from these 15 people to ensure that someone is right, someone can take me around, someone has the experience, knows what he's doing. You do all of that. When you go to the location, you constantly have to be careful. Something that I want to remind all of you is just because you know what, I'm a girl, I'm just like men, I can do anything that I want. Yes, of course you can do everything, anything that a man, that anyone can do. But at the end of the day, it's difficult for women. There are a lot of issues. There are so many fears that men have never thought of in life. And you can take care of that. You can still do anything that you want in life if you just make sure that you deal with those issues. Ensure that you don't go to very dangerous places. When you go to dangerous places, take people with you. Take someone you can rely on. Take a local with you. And so when I'm talking this, these are things that I've had conversations with my mother before I left for that trip, so that my mother's at peace sitting at home. I know that deep down my mom might have fear, but then I think from the first time, I have given her confidence that everywhere I go, I do intense and ensure that I'm extremely safe. Because, guys, you need to remember this is not just to make sure that your mother or your father is not scared. It's to make sure that you don't get into trouble. Because it's a beautiful world out there, but it's a little scary as well. So to deal with it. And I think that's my only way of getting over the fear, to ensure. But at the same time, there are times when you go to a public place, you will encounter something unexpected. It's not that you can plan everything, but when you encounter something as well, always think with a very level-headed, calm mind. Ask, just call out, say, best thing in South India is just say Anna, 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 or Cheta, Cheta, Cheta 4 times. In a bunch of 10 people, 2 people will feel Anna like and they'll come and help you out. Ask for help. It again, the fact I sat outside Karunanidhi's hospital every day till 3 o'clock, and I would come back at 3 o'clock. You think that's not scary for my mother? It will be, but every night when I came back at 3 o'clock, there would be four very senior camera persons whom I've known for the last 6 years. Who would I push? I'll insist that they have to drop me, like they don't have a choice. And I was safe back home at 3. That it became a very fun routine that I had with these people. So a big guy. I think I don't want to say the word myth, but I'm going to use it. That journalism is dangerous. No, it's not. There's so much journalism you can do. Without story I did, I went everywhere alone where I talked to villagers, the DSP, collector, everyone. So much that this New York agency wrote an article, and 1 month later, the CEO flew down for an interview with me, which was recorded on an iPhone, by the way, guys. He had flown down from UK and he had not given an interview to any other channel but us. And I'm saying, when I say channel, I mean actual TV channels. And this was when I was with Quint. And he asked me, "Dude, how can you say something like that? How can you say something like this?" I gave him 10 different proofs. We were very good friends by the end of the conversation. So I really think it's about staying safe, and that's not just for journalism. I know friends in different professions who have to go out late, who have to encounter very different situations, who have to go out in the field, who have difficult colleagues, bosses. But remember, it's always about making sure you're safe rather than projecting a safe image to your parents. And for all the parents watching, journalism is not unsafe. And not out there jumping and putting out like a sneaky camera, and later on some guys are coming and threatening. No, it doesn't happen like that. And very honestly, if you're present the truth, even the big bullies can't really do anything to you or about you. So they'll just have to let it be. And as long as you get your content right, you will never have a defamation case against you or anything. So it's not very risky. But again, at the end of the day, it's all about how smart and how sure you are of doing something, and you can stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that elaborate explanation. And I hope that both of them are watching you right now. And by now, if I would have been a parent, I would have been convinced. Yes,
That's
I
the
would
hope.
have really,
That's the goal.
yes. I would really have been convinced if my daughter would have said that to me, and if you were explaining to me. So I am convinced by now.
I'm so glad.
So with that, ma'am, let's move on to the fun part of the day. That is with the rapid fire fun questions that we have in store. And therefore, the first question
Oh,
goes like
nice.
this. Yes. So, is there a quote? Is there a single quote that motivates you to be a better journalist every day?
Uh, Technically, the one quote that really motivates me is the thing I've already said twice in this call is better to be
Better to be
right and late and right than be wrong and first. But
early.
I remember Philip Graham, who is the former editor of Washington Post, had said, journalism is the first draft of history. So
Journalism.
you can make history with your stories.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautifully said. So the next one. If there is a book written about you and your career, what will the title of that book be called?
I think it should be called Just Smitten, which is my Instagram name. And I thought a lot and I can't think of a better name to replace it. So I'm just going to stick with that for the book.
Okay, Smita Smitten. Okay, just Smitten. Beautiful. Again,
My name is Smita, so it makes sense to say Just Smitten.
yes, just Smitten. Okay. If you have to describe yourself in one word, what will that word be?
Happy,
Surely you are, and may.
whether personal or professional, because I think they go hand in hand and I think I'm happy.
Hmm. The fourth one, talent or persistence. Which one do you? Which one will you prefer? Actually.
I mean, I prefer a lot of talent, a bucket load of more talent, but persistence. It doesn't matter if you have talent.
Okay. So now a choice. Now a choice is that Smita the journalist, Smita a storyteller, or Smita a person. Which one will you prefer at the end of the day?
I think I'd like to call me a people's person.
People's person.
I've given you option number 4.
Yes, yes. The last one. Let's take for a fact that you have a machine for time travel and you can travel through time. So, what will you say your younger self, who is currently now in 11th grade?
I'll tell her just that she's doing just fine. Great job on not stressing over exams, for participating in every IHA, irrespective of whether there's a common exam coming up or not, and making lovely friends because my friends, best friends from school, are my best friends even today. Leadership roles, making the best of every single moment, chilling. So I'll just tell my younger self that you're doing fine. It'll all come to you. I'm not even going to give you a hint that you're going to end up doing journalism.
Okay, okay. It was wonderful, ma'am. It was wonderful, Smita, ma'am, to be with you. And as you have said that truth will always prevail. So I am going to keep that very well in mind. Truth will always prevail. And with that, I will pass over to Shili, ma'am, for the final question.
Thank you so much for those kind words.
Thank you, Suparna. Smita, this evening, your presence here with your prolific experiences and odyssey in journalism is sure to stimulate the young minds of Springdays and Lakshmi Garden to consider venturing into journalism. You have so beautifully explained, extensively, I should say, the intricacy of journalism, giving clear picture about it, being prepared to take challenges in your strides, facing adversities with strength, having patience, working on building human relations, staying true to oneself. Most importantly, loving what to do. Sure, they shall take up examples shared by you to make the choices in journalism. Thank you so much from all of us, hoping and blessing you for your unceasing success in your chosen field. Thank you, Smita. That was a wonderful evening we had with you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was my pleasure, my honor to be a part of going back to my own hometown and my alma mater in Vellore.
Thank you, Smita. Thank you so much. We'll just stay online for a while till we go off YouTube and then we can continue to speak. So, Ratish, you can take us offline.
Thank you, Smita, ma'am.